Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Khorne and the Lizardmen here on Crystal Lake. And I have to say that Lizard banner really looks like an Ogre Kingdom's banner. But we are going to be using the new Blood Speaker, so it's going to be a Blood Speaker on his shrine, because I actually think that that probably is the best way to use him, because one of his abilities, the one that heals nearby allies, not nearby allies, but a targeted ally, requires him to hurt himself. So having the big, massive HP pool of a shrine is very, I think, mandatory if you're going to be using him as a heal bot. So on the ground, we got Marauders of Khorne, backed up by Double Cultists, very kind of classic Khornate blood style, I guess that makes sense. And it is going to be a Blood Speaker on a shrine. So what he does is he buffs up all the nearby bad boys and actually brings a little bit of magic to the table. Khorne didn't hear me say that, but it is true. He's using magic, basically. He does have the Blood Sacrifice, so 3 charges, and it's a pretty big heal. It's a 10% heal, so using this on one of your elite units or your other SEs, I found it to be pretty good. And we do also have the Murderous Exhortations, which is the other one that I think is going to be auto-take. It's a big AoE damage, and it also lowers leadership, which is incredibly good. On top of that, we do have the Giver of Furious Glory, so this one's actually not bad. You can build it up pretty quick, and it does have a 15% ward save built in and a leadership buff of plus 10. So that is going to be the Blood Speaker. Now, Slaughter Brute is something I've been experimenting with ever since we got the early look at him here, and I'm kind of on the fence. Ultimately, I think he's a little bit lackluster as it goes for bigger monsters, but he looks so freaking cool. Sometimes you just have to submit to the rule of cool. And how he works is he's actually unbreakable, which is one of the better aspects of the monster. But when your Lord dies, he actually loses control and rampages. It's actually very flavorful. So he's kind of like an unleashed beast. Up in the front, we got Marauder Horsemen, and we are going to be immediately summoning in the new ROR Chosen Halberds. Now, for the Lizardmen on the other side in Flying Taco, going for a big scary core of elites, we do have the Star Chamber Guardians, as well as the Temple Guard here, and a couple skink cohorts. And we do have a Bastillodon Rev Crystal and Lord Mazdamundi. So this is one of the first games that I had played getting the update or getting the early access. And this was before we knew how not nasty the Skull Cannon ROR was. But if you guys were playing this matchup in a tournament or something, you're always pretty much going to want the Skull Cannon ROR. It basically annihilates the Lizard Elite Infantry, like the Star Chamber Guardians, Temple Guard. You would just put them in the trash can pretty hard, right? I can't remember if we call it in this game. Maybe it does get summoned. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. But Marauder Horsemen do get 2 objectives out of the gates. We'll do a little bit of fast forwarding while the 2 armies do posture up here. Solar Engine shooting in, and yeah, here it is. I think this was the first time we discovered it, if memory serves. So here comes the Hellforged Bellowers, and we're going to see what kind of damage it can do from downtown. So here it comes. This is like a dream target, a 1,500 gold unit. And we get the shotgun blast and immediately a lot of HP damage. But he's returning the favor a little bit, shooting me with the Solar Engine. This is like the Hellforged Bellowers we have at home, the Bastillodon here. It's for sure the budget version. The Walmart, yes. Marauders do get caught in a banishment from Lord Chungus, and in the back we do have our Marauder Horsemen just kind of chilling out, staying out of range of the enemy skirmishers. And the shotgun is going to be shooting into Lord Mazdamundi. We get some okay damage. It does okay work against SEs, but really where it shines is against Elite Cav or Cav in general, as well as Elite Infantry. So Slaughter Brute is a good fighter, going fisticuffs with Mazdamundi. It's not going to be bad. So it is going to be moving over here, afflicted by a little bit of poison, if I'm not mistaken. Something is afflicting it here, and the Solar Engine is shooting into the Hellforged Bellowers. Meanwhile, I do move my Horsemen to get some throwing axe action on Mazdamundi, but Taco's going to be responding with a very nice play. This is Lizardmen have been doing this since the dawn of Warhammer 2, using a net and then using Ruination of Cities on a bunch of skirmish cav. He doesn't kill any models, but still does a lot of HP damage and butters me up for later. In the meantime, the Hellforged Bellowers do continue to get good work on the Star Chamber Guardians, and the forces of Khorne are going to be surging forth. So the Marauder Hordes are eager, and they're going to potentially bash down some of the skinks, and the War Shrine is also going to be charging with the Blood Speaker on top. I'm curious to see how he'll be used in competitive. I don't think he's probably going to be the most competitive pick, but maybe in a grind against another blob-centric faction, he could find a home, because his AoE buffs, and eventually it's going to be 15% ward save. I found it to be pretty good. So Horsemen going to be parking on the Ark of Sotek, and we do also get the Slaughter Brute moving over there to hunt this thing down. So this is an ideal fight for the Slaughter Brute. Oh yeah, dude, get in there. Give him the big gorilla slap. So yeah, it should just dominate something like a Bastillodon. And you can see it does a little bit of a nice AoE damage against these skink cohorts here. In the meantime, in the front, we do get our Marauders just getting overwhelmed by Lord Mazdamundi. And this is not a great spot for my Blood Speaker, right? He doesn't have too much support on the ground nearby, just some Marauders. And if they do fold up, he's going to be very isolated. So we start to lose ground here, and my goal this game was to call these guys in. And I knew that if I waited, I would just not call them in. I would keep calling in Khorne Gores and very efficient cheap units. So I was like, all right, I'm going to call in the Slaughter Guard. The Chosen of Khorne are going to be here, and they're just so cool. Honestly, pretty good against a lot of the lizard stuff that we do have on the table here, like the Bastillodon, the Cold Spear Riders. They definitely have a place. And here we do get the Skull Cannon ripping a very cost-effective shot into the Cold Spear Riders, so those guys are going to be forced back a little bit. Meanwhile, the Slaughter Brute going to be chasing down the Bastiladon, and the Horsemen did rout off one of the Skink units. We are holding Objective 1. Objective 2 is, I believe, being contested, but it looks like the Dinos are on their way to getting it. Lord Mazdamundi is definitely more of a combat-centric character than the Bloodspeaker. He's an okay fighter for, like, being a Warshrine, you know, 43 melee attack, but not much armor piercing, and Mazdamundi is an absolute raid boss, right? So we don't want any of that smoke. In the backside, Fleshhounds of Khorne being called in, just kind of rapid response unit. My Chosen still have not arrived. Very, very slow at 28 speed. But when they get there, they'll make a difference. And the Slaughter Brute hasn't been terrible. I've been using my heals from the Slaughter Priest on him, and it is a total of 30% over the course of the entire game that you can use heals. And yeah, we're beating down the Bastiladon, so not bad at all. Advancing up are the Marauder Horsemen, and their throwing axe is very, very effective against the Cold Dawn Spear Riders. The Shotgun Skull Cannon ripping a shot as it does flee through some of the units there. Unfortunately, I did not have it on, safe fire mode where you're saving your ammunition, using it as you intend. But this is what it's all about, baby. These are the big guns. So we do get the Chosen of Khorne arriving, and these are the big scary boys. And if he doesn't get banishments or ruination on these guys, you know, they're going to be in good shape. But immediately, of course, my opponent being a very, very skilled player is going to be using a ruination as soon as they appear. But they took that like champs, honestly. You have to remember, these elite Khorne units have at least 30% spell resist, I think, 35%. So they take it pretty well, you know, compared to the Chosen of like other factions. A 35% damage mitigation against the magic is quite good. And they do take it like champs. So they're going to move up. They continue to get halberd attacks into the Ark of Sotek. And here we do get Lord Mazdamundi intercepting the Bloodspeaker. So it feels pretty bad for old Bloodspeaker. Cultist summoned in the middle. Going to be trying to buy some time and push back the Scar Veteran and the Bastiladon Solar Engine. And yeah, we just need the Chosen to grind up, because right now I'm triple capped. This objective still belongs to the Blood God, but just barely, because I have a Marauder unit and a Cultist, and he has two characters there. And with the HP on these units, I think he's got a little bit more capture weight, but not to the point where he's flipped it yet. Slaughter Brute comes in. Pimp slaps Mazdamundi here. Mazdamundi going to keep fleeing at 1,800 value. The Slaughter Brute currently going to be sitting at how much? About 600. So not great so far, but it's trying its best. You know, he's living his best life. On the far side here, Skink Skirmishers continuing to poke into the light-ish armor of the Slaughter Brute. So the Slaughter Brute here, you can see, where's that? Yeah, you can see now in the new update, you're actually able to see like how stats are reduced, because you can see the armor goes down because it's exhausted. Now, this is something that wasn't reflected in the previous updates, but you can now see their stats amended based on their fatigue status and poison and other things like that. So it's a really, really cool aspect of the update. So the Chosen, unfortunately, do get attacked by red-crested skinks. Pretty bad fight for them, to be fair. Here we do use the Murderous Extortions, I believe was just activated by the Blood Shrine there, and the Blood Sacrifice was used as well on the Slaughter Brute. So going to be getting a 10% heal, which isn't bad. You know, on a monster that has around 10,000 HP, that's a substantial amount of HP. It's like maybe 3 attacks from Mazdamundi are going to be sealed up with that heal right there. Granted, it's on fire for some reason. Is Mazdamundi doing fire damage? It's probably going to be the Solar Engine there. So on the backside, we do get the Javelin Fire, and as well as the Solar Engine continuing to poke away at my Skirmishers. The Chosen of Khorne, let's see what kind of value they've gotten so far. Slaughter Guard, about 700 value, so not amazing, but you can see they are a nice anchor piece, and they're going to be working with the Minotaurs. So with the Minotaurs, they're cleaving through the remnants of the Lizards here, and the Temple Guard are going to be fleeing the scene. And the Chosen of Khorne still have 36 models, and look how insane that is, right? Despite how damaged they are, these bad boys are still rocking. How much? Yeah, their leadership is still like close to 70, which is like the base leadership for a lot of units. But we are going to be stealing Objective 1, so I kind of felt like we were starting to get back in the game a little bit. You know, he has some healing, but I too have healing too, which is a very strange thing to say for Khorne, but I do. And we do start to kind of slowly consolidate our army here, so we get all our forces together on Objective 1. And I do use the sneaky Khorne Gores, which are really, really nice addition to the Khorne roster. So they join the Cultists down here, and the Khorne Gores are going to be grabbing this point, which is going to give me 5 capture weight here, a total of 8, including the Cultists. And we are going to flip that point. So suddenly we have a 2 cap, and we're, you know, close on points. So I was like, okay, now we're back in the game here. So Bloodspeaker is going to be hanging out, trying to beat down the Bastiladon, but my opponent's done a very good job keeping it alive this game. Khorne Gore is going to be engaging versus Golden Rider, so people are still getting used to the fact that you have like fast halberds on Khorne, and the Cav are going to be charging in, but you know, some of them do get punted. Sure, it looks bad aesthetically, but the Khorne Gore should be able to hold their own, although with Mazdamundi there, it's probably going to be a very tough fight. Golden Rider's getting throwing axes, and this is a really, really cost-effective now, right? Because the Bloodspeaker is giving 11% damage augment to all my units and 11% ward save, which is a very valuable stat line. And we get a fat Sword of Khorne, baby, right in the face of the Temple Guard and the Golden Riders, and the Blood God is back on the menu. So we are at 7.1 against 8.1, pretty negligible difference. Not negligible, but it's close enough that it's not really going to be like someone getting steamrolled here. Oh, that could be the difference of like a couple attacks on my Bloodspeaker or whatever, right? On the low ground objective, we're chilling out, just kind of hanging there with the Khorne Gores, and it looks like Taco is going to be using 2 units of skirmishers, so the red-crested skinks are going to be heading over towards objective 3 to try and grab that, and they will do pretty well against Khorne Gores. So in response to this, I will be calling in some fast cav here, some fleshhounds, which will basically annihilate these guys. They are really not going to like fighting those. And the Blood God's forces, under the leadership of the Blood Speaker, are going to be holding it down. Murderous Exhortations is popped here on the Temple Guard. I have to test the damage on that. I haven't really tested it, but it seems to do respectable damage. Not like quite like Melkoth's level of damage, but decent enough. And Khorne Gores are an armor-piercing unit with, over 30 melee attack, so obviously they lose the Temple Guard one-on-one. But, in this position here, they're actually going to probably trade pretty well. So using the big man to head over here, and we're also grinding with the Hellforged Bellowers. Yeah, 2,200 value. So this is definitely, aside from Angler Squigs, the Hellforged Bellowers is probably the strongest, it's got to be the strongest unit in the DLC. I would say top 3, Mangler Squigs, the Hellforged Bellowers Skull Cannon, followed up by the Thunder Tusk for the Ogre Kingdoms. Kind of interesting how each faction got something that's like either OP or borderline OP, so pretty funny. But it is replenishing its ammo, which is incredibly good. And here, the Marauder Horsemen of Khorne, one of the best elements of Khorne is the fact that their Marauders are really good at clearing out chaff. They have 44 melee attack and pretty high weapon strength, a good charge bonus, so you can use them against like Skinks, Orc Boys, like kind of low tier units, and they can do their thing. Slaughter Brute's still hanging in there. It's got probably close to 1,000 value at this point. That's the Cold One Spear Riders, but we do get Cold One Spear Riders coming into the flank here. But really nice to have the Halberd support, as the Slaughter Brute does manage to push back Mazda Mundi. And wow, big splash attack damage there on those Cold One Riders. They took the business, and we are up on points. So 899 on the low ground, though, it's going to get kind of messy. We got the 2 red-crested skinks moving down here, and our Fleshhounds are going to be moving back here to try and hold this point. It's going to be a hard hold, but I do pull back the Khorne Gores out of the range of the red-crested skinks for the most part, and then I summon a unit of Bloodletters. Bloodletters will annihilate red-crested skinks, so very, very happy with how that engagement went. You can see here these red-crested skinks are going in the trash can. So we were able to get, I would say, a better position down here, and now the Fleshhounds getting a rear charge will probably be able to win this position for me. With one red-crested skink actually being broken and shattered almost instantly, Bloodletter support, we get the good old Khorne Sandwich. So the Khorne Sandwich is going to be underway. Croxagores, their spanking paddles are pretty good for bonking demons on their stupid heads, but we will see if they hold. The Ark of Zotek, if it does have one of its activated AoEs, might make enough of a difference down here for him to win this objective, but we'll get back to that eventually. So the Shrine, man, just anchoring it. You can see the stats are really penalized by the Vigor. I'm really happy they changed that, because now you can actually kind of gauge situations better. In the meantime, the AoE buff's going down, and the Slaughter Guard, oh yeah, look at this. We got 4 of these bad boys left. What absolute gigachads of Khorne. And they're sitting at about 1,000 value, which isn't terrible considering how hard they've been focused, but arguably summoning 2 Khorne Gores probably would have been much more cost effective. But, sometimes, like I said, rule of cool is the king. So in the pit fight here, I do make a bit of a misplay. The Blood Speaker should have stayed closer, but I was very nervous about Mazda Mundi coming in and just finishing off my Blood Speaker. But I should have kept it here to keep buffing my units, because now these Khorne Gores are going to be breaking, whereas otherwise they would have stayed if the Blood Speaker had been nearby and would have fought longer with the +10 leadership. But now, they're running, and it's going to be very, very difficult to rally them. Middle objective is in the control of my enemy here. And on the low ground, the Khorne Gores are trying their best, but Feral Cold Ones do arrive. The Bastillodon was able to get the Ark of Zotek attack off and do a ton of AoE damage to me. And the Feral Cold Ones arrived, so I do unfortunately end up losing the low ground objective. So that's going to be tough. We are up 1,100 right now, but the high ground is also in danger. Mazda Mundi able to get a lot of damage here on the Blood Speaker, and Khorne Gore is going to be trying to come in and salvage that. But now we do have the Slaughter Brute. It is out of control. I think if the Lord flees, it also triggers that. Let me go ahead and double check that. So the Lord is not killed. Routing or routing? Okay. The Lord is not killed, routing or routing. Yeah, so if your Lord starts to run, you lose control of the Slaughter Brute, which is hilarious. Although when it does happen, you get Unbreakable. Do you get Unbreakable, or is it Unbreakable before? Yeah, okay, looks like it does trigger the Unbreakable. That's kind of funny. So that's basically going to be it, though. A very, very fun, scrappy fight. Value's close, but the healing of the lizards was able to outdo the healing of Khorne, which is respectable, as you would suspect. And here we do have the Hellforged Bellowers doing a great job. We're going to have the opportunity to get the low ground objective. It's a very close game on points. And here we do get the Minotaurs of Khorne hustling down towards objective 3 with the OP Skull Cannon, and we just crushed through it, right? I was like, damn, I wish that had happened earlier. But the Bastillodon gets run over, the Croxagores get run over. But maybe, just need more Minotaurs of Khorne, right? Slaughter Brute was kind of a disappointment. The whole game I was kind of like, I wish I just had a unit of Minotaurs. Like, they would just be so much more killy, but let's take a look at everything here. So Blood Speaker obviously doesn't get a lot of value, but the healing and the auras may be worth it at times. I still think it's probably not the optimal choice. In this matchup, you probably would want to bring something like, Arbol or Valkia. Valkia is the go-to in this matchup. She's really good at bullying dinosaurs. Throwing axes are awesome. Marauders are fine. Slaughter Brute got 1800, but that's with a lot of healing invested. Without the Blood Speaker, he would have died a lot earlier, I think. So hard to say, but I hope the Blood Speaker becomes meta and there's some matchups for him because he's such a cool character. It's really fun. Skull Cannon's just super insane. The regular Skull Cannons are already good, and I think they're fair, but like on the stronger side of fair. This thing probably needs to be looked at. Maybe just a cost increase. Like if you increase its cost, it's also not fair to judge it in that way because he brought super elite expensive targets, which is what it's designed to counter. I've noticed against games with like chaff-centric armies, it doesn't do that well. Maybe just like, I like that it does a lot of damage. It's very fun and flavorful, a shorter range Skull Cannon with huge DPS. But maybe just like a slight cost increase or maybe like 100, 200 gold on top of it could be fine. I don't know. We'll see. I do hate to see really cool units nerfed, but again, you want the game to be balanced too. 1600 on the Minotaurs, and the Chosen were definitely one of the elements that didn't do super well for me at 1800. Probably just calling in 2 units of Khorne Gores would have been better, like I said, or a Minotaur of Khorne and a Marauder would have given me a lot more agency on the battlefield. So, and for his build, just awesome. Lord Chungus is always great. Solar Engine's really good against Skirmish Cav. Temple Guard are fun. This is one of the matchups where they can actually do okay. Because Star Chamber Guardians do magic damage, so great against demons, right? And yeah, classic Lizardmen play, a little cool Arc of Sotek, gotta love it. So GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. We'll be back with replays every day here, and that is going to be it for tonight.